Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk to you about buying guitars. And I actually had the privilege of working in a music store for a number of years and talking to many people about buying guitars. Some of them are looking to buy their very first guitar, some people are looking to continue to expand their collection of guitars, and generally there's some questions behind that people have, right? One of the main ones that comes up is people will ask, if it's their first guitar, they'll say, should I buy an acoustic guitar? Should I buy a classical guitar? Should I buy an electric guitar? What should I get? Like, what should I be looking for? And the way that I always look at this is, well, what are you interested in, right? Because let's say you're only really interested in the sound of an electric guitar. Well, then just buy an electric guitar, right? If you're not interested in the sound of an acoustic guitar, I get the mentality of playing acoustic guitar to help build your finger strength because the strings are a little more to push down, and there's certain things that you'll learn, like you have to be more precise on an acoustic guitar because you don't have like a distortion or another effect that might mask any small mistakes, right? But the main thing for me is this: if you do not want to hear the sound of an acoustic guitar more than an electric guitar, then it's not going to inspire you to actually pick your guitar up, right? Like if you want to play electric guitar, get an electric guitar, pick it up, play that guitar. This was actually my first guitar that I bought. I had an acoustic that my dad had owned, and I was like, I really just want an electric guitar. I really want to own an electric guitar, and we went to a pawn shop actually and picked this guy up, and it actually moved my guitar playing along so much because that's the sound that I was looking for. That's what I wanted to play. I was interested in playing electric guitar and hearing that sound, and in getting an electric guitar it inspired me to continue to get better at playing. I primarily play acoustic guitar now, but that doesn't mean that I wasn't more interested at that time in playing an electric guitar, and that's what I needed to actually continue to push my guitar ability. So that's the first thing. The next thing that people talk about is, okay, let's say you have a limited budget, right? You say, I have to buy a guitar within 150, 200 bucks. Maybe it's $100, maybe it's $50, whatever it is that you can spend on a guitar. If your budget is limited to that amount and you can only find a few different options within that price range, those are your options, right? Like you can sit around and wait for a nicer guitar that's used maybe to come up at a deal. That's a possibility if you want to wait. But if you don't have a guitar at this point in time, it's better to have one than to not have one. And I know some people will argue with this, like it's better to have a nicer guitar because it'll play better. And I understand that argument. But if the options are no guitar or a guitar, having a guitar is going to help you to play guitar better. So that's where I would leave that one for now. If you do have the opportunity to pick one up that's a nicer instrument for within your price range that may be lower than what it normally sells for, then great, do that, right? But if your only options are, maybe not the nicest instrument, but it would still put something in your hands, then I would do that just to have something to be able to play. Let's say you maybe have whatever budget you need to be able to buy something. People will often ask, do I buy something that's a reasonable price, in an intermediate price range maybe, or do I buy something that's high end, right? Sometimes even parents will come in or spouses will come in and they'll say, I want to get them a really nice gift, so I'm going to buy them something expensive. Okay, well you may want to go, let's say, and pick up a nice, Gibson acoustic or a Taylor acoustic or a Martin acoustic and say, this is a premium instrument, right? It is. However, you don't actually know if this is going to be a good fit for that person, right? You don't know if this is the sound that they're looking for. All these brands, their guitars sound slightly different. They feel slightly different when you're playing them. And that's something that each person is going to decide on. It's going to be a personal preference type thing, and that's going to develop over time. When I got into playing acoustic guitar, I had, again, the acoustic that my dad gave me. Then I went to a music store and I actually bought this acoustic next. And this is a Yamaha acoustic guitar. Not like Yamaha's a well-known brand, but not necessarily super well known for their guitars. And when I bought this, I loved it. I loved playing this guitar. I actually bought it with a paycheck that I got from work, and it was, a good chunk of money that I had at the time. But I really wanted to get a nice acoustic to be able to play with. So I had that electric guitar already that had inspired me to keep playing, and then I wanted to get a nicer acoustic guitar. So I went to the store, I sat down with this, I loved it, wanted to buy it, spent a lot of my money buying it, but it continued to push me in my guitar playing journey. At that point in time, I didn't really know. Like, if I had the budget to buy a high end guitar, I wouldn't have been able to tell you exactly what I was looking for sound wise or feel from the instrument, because I was still learning that. I was still developing what I was looking for in a guitar. So, in some cases, it may be a really nice gift to go and buy a high end guitar, and if that's just what you're set on, then, don't let someone stop you. But it may be a good idea to get something that's going to allow you to understand maybe what you're looking for a bit more. This guitar, when I had bought it, was in and around that $500 to $700 range, and it helped me understand what I was looking for in my Gibson guitar before I had bought that. As far as body style, how it felt when I held it, the thickness of the neck, just the actual sound of the instrument itself. It helped me to develop what I wanted out of that high-end guitar, so that when I did buy one, I was really confident in the fact that this is what I'm looking for. This is the sound I want. This is the feel that I want. And I'd been able to just grow that own personal preference of mine to that place where I was aware of what I wanted. So maybe it's you personally. You've got the budget to buy whatever you want. I would still personally, if you're kind of still getting a feel for guitar and you're just looking to maybe move from whatever entry level instrument you have into something a little bit nicer, maybe consider going to an intermediate guitar where you're not spending thousands of dollars, but you're spending hundreds of dollars on an instrument that's going to continue to help you to develop that ability. I would always recommend getting into a music store, sitting down with instruments and playing them, right? Like, you don't know necessarily maybe even what different guitars feel like. Sit down in an acoustic room or an electric room and play with some higher end instruments, right? Get the feel for them, play and listen to see the difference in sound, and be able to educate yourself in those differences of what these instruments have to offer, so that you can make an even more informed decision when you're ready to pull the trigger on a nice high-end instrument. Yeah, I know for sure this is what I want because I've played so many different instruments and I have a good feel for it. And even sometimes within particular companies, like if you're looking at Fender electric guitars, neck shapes are going to be different depending on the guitar. A Strat sounds and feels a lot different than a Tele. So you want to be able to have that experience to make the best decision for what you need, for what you are looking for. When I went to buy a high-end electric guitar, I ended up picking up this one. This is a Gibson Les Paul, and it's actually a pretty heavy guitar. Like, it's got a good amount of weight to it. And when I bought this guitar, it was the most expensive guitar that I've ever bought, and I'm still, like, to this day when I play it, I'm like, yep, this is what I wanted. If I was to go to Gibson Custom Shop and ask them to build me a guitar, it would be really close to what this guitar is. So for me, because I had spent that time developing what I was looking for, again, working at a music store, I could sit and play with a lot of these instruments, kind of narrow down what I was looking for feel-wise and sound-wise from an instrument. It allowed me to make an informed decision where, now looking at, probably about a decade after with this instrument, I'm still happy with it. I'm still grateful that I took that time in learning what I wanted, so that I can still pick that guitar up today and say a decade later, yeah, this is it. This is what I want. And same thing with my acoustic guitar. But if you don't put that time in, then you may end up actually buying an instrument that is working against you as far as your journey of learning guitar. You may sit down with it and think, okay, let's take this guitar for instance. Let's say you bought this, again, a heavy guitar, and you sit down with this and you're thinking, oh, it's so heavy to me that even if it sounds good, I don't want to pick it up. I just don't want to play the guitar. It's hard on my back. It's hard if I'm sitting down on my leg. It's got too much weight to it for me, right? But if you had taken the time to play around with different instruments, you might have figured that out before you even bought this guitar. In other ways, it could be, the neck profile, right? Like, this neck is too thick or too thin. and you be able to know before you even go in and make a commitment to purchase an instrument of what you are looking for. For the one last thing that I'll say on this that I think really helps people out is if you are just getting to that point where maybe you're a little overwhelmed by the whole process, right? You just don't know. There's so many options out there. You're getting advice from all these people of like, here's the best instrument to buy. Here's what you should get. Spend your money because it's the best use of it this way. And you're just flooded with this information. The best advice I can give you is to go to a music store, sit down with different instruments. Even if you haven't played guitar before. This was something that I always enjoyed doing with someone who's never even played guitar, right? You sit down with a couple different instruments and you just ask yourself, is this comfortable? Right? Hold your hand onto the neck. Feel the body shape as you sit there. And for some people, they sit down with an instrument, they can't play, they're just doing this because they don't know any chords. And you're asking them like, does this feel comfortable? Does it feel comfortable to strum? And sometimes they're like, no, this body's too big, or no, this body's too small. Or, I just feel like the way this body is shaped, it's uncomfortable for me to just hold this guitar. Great. We know that's not the one for you then, right? Or how does the neck feel? Does it just, as you put your hand on it, does it feel comfortable for you? In some cases they say no. And if you find that one, then you can actually tell. Like they've tried 3 or 4 different guitars, maybe even more than that, and they sit down and they hold it and you're like, how does that one feel? And they're like, yeah, this one feels comfortable, right? And the more comfortable an instrument feels to you, the more likely you are to actually pick it up and play it. So why wouldn't you want to get an instrument that actually is going to work to continue to encourage you to play it, right? That's what I'd want. That's what I would always encourage people when they came into the store to do. Pick up an instrument that's going to encourage you to want to pick it up all the time and continue to work on it, to continue to play. Because if the instrument is actually hindering you from wanting to play it, it's not going to be able to help you on your journey of playing guitar. So that's what I'd say. I've shown you a few of my instruments today, and as a guitar player, you often end up collecting more guitars than you can play. So that's just a portion of my own collection. But even that, to some degree, you realize, okay, I really love this electric guitar, let's say, but there's something I can get out of a different guitar that I can't get out of this one. It's not that I don't love this guitar, but I know that there's just something else that I'm looking for sound-wise from this other instrument. And that gives you the ability at that point, again, as you continue to develop your ear for what you're looking for, to say, I know that making a purchase of this other guitar is actually going to benefit my collection because it's giving me an alternate sound from what I already have. So I hope that that's sort of informative as far as my perspective and what I've learned over the years in purchasing guitars, and that it actually helps you to make a more well-informed decision. If you can put aside brands and just work off of what feels comfortable to you to play, I think you're way better off in your actual guitar purchasing. So take that as you will, as my little piece of advice to you from someone who's actually worked in a music store and helped many people get connected with an instrument that they love. And hopefully it helps you along the way as you're looking to continue to buy guitars for your collection, or maybe as you buy your very first one. So thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope this has helped you out. And as always, love you guys.